Hiya, and welcome back to Lyre, the game that teaches us that if someone ever goes, someone ever goes and just does a thing with stealing evidence and then doing a thing, the best course of action is to beat the ever-loving shit out of them. Also, from the time of this stream, happy Valentine's Day. Woohoo! Anyways, let's just hop right in. Or had he only left his true self behind? Hiya. Oh. Part 3. Richter. The dull, colorless winter light shining through the cell window hits my face, granting me the slightest feeling of life. I watch the rays of sunlight gently change direction as the sun slowly moves across the afternoon sky. Each ray bounces off of the small puddles of water which lay about the floor. Steam rises off of them in thin clouds as the humidity of the cell clashes with the cold air drafting through the barred hole. Slow and natural movements like this only emphasize just how slow each day passes. It feels like I've been in here for much longer than I actually have. The hours have slowly started to turn into days, and if I hadn't focused on it, I would have lost track of time. Of course, it's only been a fortnight, but the constant thought of what's to come and everything that's happened has been draining me mentally. Not to mention my physical appearance. I've had to remove most of my clothes at this point. It was bound to happen eventually. The constant fluctuation in temperature as day and night pass has done a number on my body, along with the humid air rising deep from under the ground. At first, just wearing the coat and shoes was uncomfortable, but after a while, the cold, damp shirt started to send chills all over my body. Taking it off left me vulnerable to all of the filth, but at least now my body isn't at a constant battle with itself and the environment around it. All that's left on me is the pair of black breeches from that fateful night. And undergarments, of course. My lack of clothing is nothing compared to the appearance of my body. Tying back my hair was something I had to abandon a week ago. It messily falls down past my shoulders, unkempt, damp, and far from clean. Hiya. Having it down like this makes it easier to dry it out in what little sunlight I can get. My face feels oily, every last part of it covered in dust, dirt, and sweat. I won't lie and say that my teeth were perfect before arriving in this circumstance, but as clean as I've tried to keep them, they still feel awful. I also lack the tools to deal with my facial hair. It always grew fast, which was nice because I've been told in the past that I look good with a bit of stubble. Now I just wish this itchy mess was gone. I would try shaving with all that mirror shard hidden under the cell, but I'd end up maiming my chin and upper lip, or slitting my throat. I try to imagine the look on Adrius's face as he and his guards walk down here to find me sprawled out on the floor in a puddle of my own blood. It's truly hard to imagine just how he would react. Then I think of what Lyall would do. I shake the thought out of my mind, not wanting to dwell on such a tragic scenario. Along with all of this, as much as I feel I should be tired, I'm constantly wide awake. I can only sleep for a couple of hours before waking up again, my body refusing to go back to sleep. I'd be ashamed of myself for not handling this better, but it's a dungeon. It's not supposed to be pleasant in the slightest. Anybody would be worse off in this situation. Right now, the only thing I can look forward to is food and water. For the past couple of weeks, the second I hear a guard's footsteps making their way up the tunnel, my stomach ties itself in a knot out of hunger. The food is bland, stale, and sickening at first, but over time it's gotten better. I guess anything tastes good when you're hungry. Each tray has a small bowl of gruel with a couple of vegetables on the side along with a thin piece of bread. I try to eat the tiny amount of vegetables first. I usually dislike vegetables, so eating them when my hunger is strongest helps. Tigran told me this is good because if I eat the vegetables first, it should aid with the digestion of the rest. Sometimes there's even a dried piece of meat. Anytime there is, I like to savor it throughout the day. Even after all of that, it pales in comparison to the cup of water I get. It rests in my hand, only a small amount of it is left. I sit there, legs crossed on the ground, staring out the window as I cradle the cup between my fingers. I trust you'll be done with your break soon? Their voice wakes me from my thoughts and I stand from the dirty ground. Yeah. Meet me in the mind's eye when you're finished. I take what's left in the cup and bring it to my mouth, tipping the contents back. Feeling the clean water wash over my tongue and down my throat feels like heaven. I never appreciated water this much until now. I'd even managed to make it last all throughout the night and the rest of the morning. Standing up, I swipe the straw and dirt from my rear and go to sit on the slab of stone which I've come to call my bed. Before I'm about to go in, I can hear a little bit of conversation coming from up the tunnel. Speaking with Tigran in the mind's eye feels like the best option now. No interruptions. It takes no time at all to calm my mind as I drift into the mind's eye. It's as colorful as ever. Are you going to continue your training today? They jump into sight with a startling flash, but I'm not bothered by it as much as I would have been a week ago. There's nothing else to do. I say this in a dry tone which elicits a sigh from them. I've already counted all of the bricks on the walls. Do you remember how many there were? 1,100 and 1,183. And there's 474 that are made of stone. I usually enjoy counting, but not like this. Training is driving me crazy, and anything I can do to take a break from it also drives me crazy. I'm in a constant battle with myself, and while you pull my strings like a puppet. They roll their eyes at me and cross their arms, an annoyed expression appearing across their face with every word from my mouth. Oh, okay. Yeah, you did. Okay. Cool. It only makes me more irritated. The puppet controlling the body is not to blame. What's that supposed to mean? They let out a sigh and disregard my question, asking one of me instead. You don't want to train, do you? I take a deep breath and try to calm myself down as I prepare a reply. I want to, but with each vision that yields no useful information, I grow more and more reluctant. I don't want to feel this way, but it can't be helped. Your life could depend on it. If my life is so precious to you, then tell me who killed Raynar. Or tell the king yourself. I'm sure he'd love to hear it from you. There's a long and drawn-out silence from them. That was a joke. Please don't lecture me again. Ha ha. They let out a sardonic laugh. I'm being serious, though. I've been training without a single break for the past few days, and I feel as if I'm going insane. Never mind. I am going insane. 2 weeks of being in a dungeon is bad enough, but dragging my mind through endless strain and meaningless visions all in the pursuit of a single past memory is difficult. It's maddening. And what if it doesn't even matter in the end? You'll never know unless you learn what really happened. No, that's not what I mean. Even if I do find out who killed him, it will only give me a slight edge in an already botched trial. Not to mention the impossible situation I've been thrown into. I could toss as much proof as I wanted at Adrius and he would still kick me through the streets and throw rocks at me. And then kill me. Have you really given up that easily? I sigh and shake my head slowly. No. I'm just choosing to see things realistically. I'm not going to give up because I know that if I did, I would never hear the end of it from you. They can't help but let out a soft chuckle, accompanied by a concerned face. You're right. But another reason is that it's your only chance. The quiet noises around me suddenly become thick and heavy as those words settle in. I've assumed it to be the only outcome so far, but do you think I could escape a death sentence even if found guilty? It's possible. Not likely, though. People have been put to death for less than killing a king. Hiya. Thanks, Tigran. What? I'm only seeing things realistically. Again, very funny. I should probably go back. There's a short pause as the colorful mists lightly glide past our figures. They speak up, their voice filled with levity. You really should continue your training, though. I can sense that you're getting better with each time you delve into the past. Their words of encouragement are nice, but I can't help but feel their words don't ring true. The closer these visions get to the present, the harder it is to have them. It's like time is a road and a tree has fallen in the path. I hope you're right. I'd prefer not to have to do any last-minute investigating during the trial. They laughed to themselves, still wearing a face full of concern and guilt. That would be preferable. I give them a slight wave before taking my leave. They awkwardly raise a paw and I can see the slightest hint of a smile. Seeing this makes me think for a moment that there could be hope, as much as I doubt it. Bye. It's a nice thought, but one that brings me less joy with each hour that passes and every day that comes and goes. I pull myself out of the cavern, slowly bring myself back in touch with my body. Oh? When I'm back, everything is the way it was before. The sun is still slowly sinking in the sky, and I can hear chatter coming up from up the tunnel. I get up and walk over to the wall across from me and sit down, positioning myself in the sunlight. Once I'm comfortable, I prepare to dive into another vision as I've done before. I sit there trying to concentrate, the noise stops, and I hear footsteps coming in my direction. They sound like hooves. It's most likely Adrius coming back to aggravate me some more. I sit there with my eyes fixed on the wall in front of me, ready for him to round the corner wearing his classic face of disgust. The footsteps get heavier, though, and I wonder if it really is Adrius. They're slow and thud on the ground like someone banging rocks against the floor. The person steps in front of the barred-off doorway, and I quickly realize that it's definitely not the deer. Oh? Hi. Before me stands a large horse in a thick black coat. His face is masked, and I can only see his large brown eyes as they peer at me from behind the hood. I think we're probably going to die soon. I've only ever seen horsemen outside in the village, but seeing one this close indoors allows me to realize just how big they are. He's taller than Lyall and possibly even larger than Bjorn. Oh, that was that bitch's name. You know, that bear with the massive as fuck sword that beat the shit out of Lyall in the middle of town. Yeah, that was his name. I'm gonna call you Henry. He has his fist firmly placed on his hip, but it's not how one would usually picture it. Hiya. Unlike when Lyall would confidently place his paw on his hip, it almost looks like he's supporting himself, like he had a hurt back and was applying pressure. His robes are ragged and loose, falling down around his broad shoulders and coming to an end at his waist. A golden medallion is placed around his thick neck and shines with the symbol of Tigrin. It's a symbol I'm now far too familiar with. The decoration looks old and bent. My eyes pan down and I notice the object in his hands, an axe larger than I've ever seen. The handle is made of a long, gnarled piece of wood and the blade is crescent-shaped. It gleams in the dim light and looks sharp enough to cut bone. The axe of an executioner. My heart drops into my stomach and my body begins shaking all over. I back myself up against the wall a bit more and I get that taste in the back of my throat that I usually get when nervous. Why would he be down here? I didn't think I would be seeing him anytime soon, and if I did, it would mean the worst for me. Is this some sort of sick joke by Adrius? You're the executioner? He looks upon me again, his golden eyes old and sad. He takes a moment to respond, but when he does, his voice is soft and gentle. It reminds me of Lyall's voice, but it's almost like a tone that a father would use to console their child. Yes, I could be called that. Please, don't be frightened of me. His voice travels through the space between the bars almost like a mist on the wind. For some reason, it's putting me at ease despite the current situation. Still, my curiosity proves stronger. What are you doing down here? Visiting. He reaches behind his back under his cloak and pulls out a thick, rusty ring full of keys. Each key is almost identical, with certain markings on them. He starts to quickly go through them. Visiting? What do you mean? Why would you want to visit me? He pauses for a moment, holding a key closer to his gaze and then continuing. It's not a matter of wanting to. It's expected of me. Expected? Do all executioners do this? Unless he has a second job of being a turnkey, it doesn't make much sense. Though, as I listen to the jingling of his keyring, I start to wonder if that's actually a possibility. No, I would have seen him by now if that were the case. Unless I'm not the only prisoner in the dungeons. He finds the key he was looking for and sticks it in the lock. He twists the key and the lock comes undone, the chain falling against the doorway with a loud clank. Putting one hoof through the doorway, he slips through and closes the barred door behind him with a loud thud that rings up the hall. I back up against the wall a bit more as they approach, scuffing my feet across the floor. Is this some sort of joke? He stops where he stands, his tail flicking slightly as he looks down at me with a perplexed gaze. I'm not very good at jokes. Then why are you down here? Did Adrius send you? He sits down on my bed and looks at me with confusion and concern. He rests his axe against the great slab of rock, the light shining off of it and casting a glare in my eye. I have to tilt my head slightly so I'm not being blinded. I believe he did, but I would have come down either way. Why? Because I have to? I hunch over and hug my knees, keeping my eye on him. Hiya. His gaze looked like golden coins, shining dimly behind his shrouded gaze. Oh, yes. I've forgotten that you're not from here. He looks me up and down for a moment. Do they do things differently in Erin? I let my body relax a bit and reply, the words trapped in my throat. I don't know. I've never been in prison before. The horse takes a breath, then leans against the wall behind him. I just figured seeing you come down here only meant certain death. That's not the case. I can assure you that I haven't come down here to kill you. I'm no butcher. But you're the executioner! He leans forward with a jolt as if he'd realized something important. There are many misconceptions about people in my line of work. I know that in Erin they do things a bit differently, but this applies to everyone. As I slowly rock my body, I watch as he looks me in the eyes with his thoughtful gaze. Eye contact is something he seems to be very good at. A bit too good for my taste, as I find that it feels like he's staring into my soul. These misconceptions, what are you referring to? We were merely tools of the justiciar. The judge gives a sentence and the headsman carries it out. Whether we wish to or not, it is done. I don't see how this makes things better. It also doesn't explain why you're down here. My sentence hasn't been passed, let alone the trial. Unlike the hooded strangers who only come out at the king's behest in Erin, I have other jobs. Used as a tool for death, my purpose is holier than most. You're religious, then? As much as one can be in this time. However, it's unnecessary for me to prattle on about that. There will be time to speak about it later. It is the duty of a headsman to bond with the accused and guide them to the path of acceptance, whether they are innocent or guilty. You're here to bond with me? 5 centuries ago, the men of the church might have come down here too. Men of the church? Oh, yes. There were plenty of them from Driss who had come north to spread word of God. And how could King Rune turn them away, when his own interest in religion was as strong as theirs? Why would they visit prisoners, though? They would come down here and try to convince the prisoner to confess their sinful acts. Show them illustrated scripts from the old tombs, holy teachings and whatnot. I sit up and rub my hands together out of nervousness. I look up at the shackles hanging off of the wall behind him, their rusted chains and clasps making my wrists feel uncomfortable just by looking at them. You're not here to do that, right? No. That's not why I'm here. I don't care if you committed murder. It doesn't matter to me. Right? Like, oh my god, hang on, I'm gonna make myself more comfortable. There we go. Why not? Because it's not for me to decide. I am merely the axe. Nothing more. Please explain your goal then. I'm getting a bit confused. My goal is to help you come to terms with your future. I throw my hands into my lap and tilt my head. Future? The trial approaches and your days are possibly numbered. I'm here to help in any way I can, as is the duty of a headsman. Their words cause an empty feeling to appear in my chest, as if someone just pulled my heart from my body. For a fleeting moment, nothing seems to matter anymore. My thoughts go only one place. It's the last place I would have expected them to go, but it makes sense the more that I think about it. Snow crushed between my hands. Breath just barely holding on to the inside of my lungs. I feel my chest start to rhythmically beat, sending a hot feeling throughout my body. I try to look around and find anything to take my mind off of this feeling. I look over at the cell door as it rests in the archway slightly ajar. Why didn't you lock the cell? Because I know you won't try to leave. How? Because you're smarter than that. What's your name? He shakes his head, looking away and sighing. I can't tell you that. But I'm sure you'll find there's a bit of good in not knowing my identity. I see a small smirk grace his lips, but it doesn't feel like it was done out of arrogance. It felt full of understanding. As soon as the exchange ends, my mind travels back to the thoughts from moments ago. A heavy weight on my chest. Chaotic screams and shouts all around me. I let out a laugh, a soft, strained chuckle through gritted teeth. Why am I laughing? Trying to make it stop only makes it worse. I look up at the headsman, his face stoic and his eyes focused. As if he senses nothing wrong. A few more shivering laughs escape my mouth and I start to feel tears forming at the corners of my eyes. I want to cry so badly, but as hard as I try, the tears won't flow down my face. I'm listening. Raising my head, I see him staring at me with a soft expression. What troubles you? These words caused my resolve to shatter. You wouldn't understand. Oh? I've always struggled with the concept of death. Understanding what it is and how it works is easy, though. But when reality sets in and the feelings wash over, I'm never how I should be. The emotions just aren't there. Close friends and relatives pass away, and I'm told I should feel sad. And at first, I was. I try. God knows I try. But life goes on, and the living leave the dead behind. Then, an avalanche happens, killing a dozen men in my caravan. I survived by some miracle and wasn't even awake for the morning. I'm told of the events that transpired, and at first I feel nothing. Over time, the guilt starts to grow more and more. Just as I start to feel something, everything goes right back to the way it was. A month later, I walked in on a terrible scene. My king, bleeding at my feet, wounded beyond saving. And even then, all my mind can do is scurry about and try to piece together what just happened as I sit there in a puddle of his blood, acting like a fool. I look down at my hands. My fingers are thin and cold, the blue streaks of veins running up and down them clearly visible. So it's ironic, isn't it? As selfish as I am about others' deaths, coming to terms with the idea of my own is impossible, no matter how hard I try. I stare into the ground, tears welling in my eyes, but refusing to flow. My mind won't stop feeding me these thoughts. I want to run away from all of this, now more than ever. Take Lyall with me to live somewhere where nobody will ever find us. Throw away my connection to Tigran and ditch their purpose that they are so graciously bestowed upon me. Lyall and I can stay there forever and love each other. We can grow old and... Damn it all. I slump against the wall, hair in my face and legs spread out across the floor. My eyes glance in the direction of the headsman and he's still sitting there. He hasn't moved an inch and his expression is still the same as it was before. He bites down on his lip as he prepares to speak. I understand what you're going through. There are many people who suffer the same experience. He leans forward, resting his weight on the handle of his axe. Can I ask you something? What is it? I started this out through heavy breaths. Do you fear death? I swear to God, I'm tearing up. I don't really have to give this question too much thought, so I answer. It's not something I think about a lot. Everyone fears death at one point in their life. Why should you? Shouldn't everyone? Everyone does, but that doesn't mean they should. There is a reason for this. You have been dead before. His voice gets a bit serious all of a sudden. What do you mean by that? He reclines, resting his axe on the floor by his hooves. The heavy metal lets out a soft clank as it hits the ground. Most people today believe that when you die, you will be delivered onto nothingness. But they often forget to ask themselves an important question. Where did we come from? Yes. Before you were born, you were nothing. If there isn't an afterlife, or as so many people believe, then you have nothing to be afraid of. For all it's worth, I'm sorry about the things that have happened to you. I appreciate the concern and advice, but so far, none of this feels helpful. He takes a deep breath and lets it out through his nose. There's something else I want you to understand, though. You can't give up. I'm only down here in the case that you are guilty. Better to get stuff like this out of the way now. But if you're innocent, think of me as a friend. If you need to talk to me about anything, I'll be available for the next 3 days. I bring my legs up to my chest and wipe my eyes with my hands. I have a friend. His name is Lyall Reed. The Royal Guard's captain? Yeah. He's the closest I've been with anyone here. Visions of Lyall's face flash before my eyes. I can see his smile and hear his laugh. I can feel his tears and smell his scent, flowery and fresh with a hint of coconut. But he's not allowed down here. King Adrius said that he can't visit anymore. I only get letters now, but even those have stopped. A heavy silence falls over the cell. I can feel my anxiety slowly start to lower as I relax into the wall. What other business did you have down here? He looks up, answer at the ready as if he'd been asked this a question thousands of times. What else do you need to talk about? I feel a rush of emotions overcome me. Relief, sadness, anger? Nothing at the moment. I should be left alone now, please. He grabs his axe off of the ground and sits up straight. Very well. I'll return later if you wish to speak more. He walks towards the door and leaves through it, locking it behind him. I get up and lay down on the bed, staring up at the ceiling. Richter. Tigran, I said I wish to be left alone. I need to think. There's a short silence, then an understanding response from them. As you wish. I feel a little bad, but I know that he was only going to tell me to train. I can't blame him. It really is something I should be doing right now. It would be difficult, though. The headsman's words won't leave my mind. He seems nice, and it was nice to have someone to talk to other than Tigran, but now my mind won't stop racing. I turn over on my side, eyes fixed on the wall in front of me. I start to make shapes out of the bricks in my mind, each pattern forming an image. Doing this takes my mind off of everything usually, but now it's not working. Now my thoughts only move faster. Do they do this with every prisoner? Send an executioner down into their cell to talk with them about their uncertain future? It sounds nice on paper, but having experienced it just now, I don't know how to feel about it. Maybe I'll look back on it tomorrow wanting more. Still, he's giving me a different outlook on all of this. He said I shouldn't fear death, but he never said anything about defying it. My life is in my own hands. Not Adrius's. Not the headsman's. Mine. A chilling draft flows over my body as I lay there. I reach down by my feet and grab the small blanket, bringing it up to my torso. It's damp but far from cold, thanks to the hot air wafting through the tunnels. It's obviously not a theta stream without drama. Naturally. As I lay my head on the uncomfortable pillow, I take the blanket and wrap it around my shoulders. The chilling draft from outside becomes less of a problem now, but my legs and feet are still terribly cold. When I try to fall asleep, I pretend the blanket that's wrapped around me is actually Lyall. I imagine that night before everything went wrong, his large warm body pressing against mine as his strong arms wrap around my torso. I roll over on the warm sheets, bundled up underneath the thick covers. My feet are a bit cold from the morning frost, and I quickly pull them underneath the blanket. I can feel a little headache coming on, but it's probably from drinking too much the night before. Oh? I wiggle out from under the covers and roll over so that I'm facing the window. Oh, fuck! 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 It was Lyall's ass. His ass. Fuck. We'll probably be fine. I hope we're fine. The one time I thought we were safe, and Lyall's ass shows up on screen. Fuck. Fuck. Although I will say his ass is pretty nice. It is a pretty nice ass, though. I was wondering why he wasn't in the bed, but thankfully he's standing by the window. The fire from last night has gone out, the ashes dimly lit with a soft orange glow. The few logs have been thrown on top, but they haven't been lit yet. Nah, Shoichi's had some rivalry. Okay. In Sileo Tales of a New Dawn, there's there's an entire conversation about the MC Adrian, I think that's his name. Yeah, Adrian, about Adrian's ass. Just his entire ass. fuck! The YouTube video is going to be censored. Lyall gazes out the window with a smile on his face. He's completely nude, but after what we did last night, it doesn't shock me at all. In fact, it's a welcome sight. I do not know if I want to read that. I don't know if I want to read that. But I'm going to anyway. His dick hangs in front of his body along with his balls, resting between his legs as he stands, putting more weight on one leg than the other. I shouldn't be ogling him like this, but he's just too gorgeous, inside and out. His strong muscles are well defined in the morning light, and his long brown fur shines with a golden glow. His toned arms match his legs, and I even get a glimpse at his large rear while his tail swishes from side to side. That was very descriptive. Like, okay. Okay. Thinking about what we did with oh my god. Oh my. That's certainly... Thinking about what he did with it last night, I wonder if I'll ever be able to pleasure him in that way again. I take another look at and now, oh my god. As I stare, he notices me and turns away from the window. The light casts a warm glow around him as he smiles. Good morning, my lord. I couldn't help but notice you staring. Could there be something you need from me? He says this with a tone of levity, giving me exaggerated bedroom eyes as he struts over to the bed. His tail swishes back and forth as he walks over. I can't help but let out a laugh. Ha ha, very amusing. Did I call upon a knight or a jester? He releases a fake gasp and smirks. How dare you mock me in such a way? If I were a jester, my lord father would be furious. If he got word that his only son was prancing around in tights and making jokes. He throws himself onto the bed, his weight causing me to rise in the air slightly, before resting back down on the heavy mattress. He'd strip me of my lands and all that other nonsense. He lays his arm over my chest, his head resting on the pillow next to mine. His fur is messy and needs to be brushed. I'd like to see you prance around in tights. Oh, would you? I bet you look really nice as I pull you out of them. Oh my! That's awful. Oh, now I'd really like that. Oh my! He whispers this, his voice soft and sweet. I feel him rub his paw further down my body, running over my stomach and landing on my thigh. This sends waves of chills all over me. He quickly grabs me with his other arm and pulls me closer to him. My backside is now firmly His head gently rests behind mine and I hear him whisper in my ear. You're beautiful. This sends a shiver up my entire body as I gently rub back into him. I'm all yours, Richter. He runs his paw up and over my chest, grabbing where he can. So long as every inch of you is mine. Rubbing his padded finger. His hot breath puffs against the back of my neck. His nose buries itself into my hair and he takes a deep breath, squeezing me harder as he does. Alright. I'm gonna step outside for a minute. If you need me, I will be outside touching grass. I turn my head and place a kiss on his face. I love you, Lyall. Oh, that's evil! Oh, that is evil. That is fucking evil. Just like, we go from like, it's like we go from like Happy Valentine's Day. Like, oh, I love you, Lyall. Well, we did it, my friends. We got our Disney Fast Pass to hell. Welcome to hell. I am very dead inside. The cold air wraps around my feet like a thick cloth. It hurts to open my eyes, but they stay open anyway. Oh no! No. Put the gun back in nowhere. Put the gun back into nowhere. I pull the cloth tight around me and realize that it doesn't feel like Lyall at all. Tears start to form at the corners of my eyes, a few of them streaming down the side of my face. I try to close my eyes in the hopes that I can pick up where my dream left off. I now realize that this is the first pleasant dream I've had in a long time. As my body succumbs to exhaustion, a thought enters my mind. I should have asked the headsman if he knew how Lyall was doing. Oh my god! Ah! Ah! That is chapter 10. I read the Twitter. Like, yeah, it's sad that it ended, but like, I don't know. I hope he's enjoying this. I hope he's enjoying this. Like, let me check something real quick. Let me check something real quick. I'm checking something real quick. Hang on. Oh damn. Like okay. Okay. The what you call it? I love being in hell. Anyways, literally, like, nothing else can be said, if anything, so stay safe, have a good night, and I will see you all tomorrow. It's okay.